This.
There we go. Got it. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really fast while I kind of like introduce myself. So I am Adam Levitt. I am Fairway's Renovation and Business Development Manager, in charge of basically trying to help you all move more properties and get more properties under contract. So that is kind of the gist of what I'm going to talk about today. I used to be a high school teacher. I used to be a high school basketball coach. So I'm used to kind of talking kind of fast, and I know we don't have a ton of time. So I'm going to go ahead and share a whole bunch of information. I'm going to send this off to you. You'll get the recording. So if we don't have a lot of time for Q&A afterward, I promise we can follow up. So this is going to be getting properties under contract with the renovation loans from your perspective as if I was an agent. And I'll kind of talk about different perspectives. So I just found this article in the Scotsman's Guide that was really cool, because we know that the market's changing. This is my 22nd year in the business. And for those of us who've been around for a little while, and I'll let you use your own interpretation for that, what goes up must come down and everything like that. So it's all about adapting and just kind of adjusting to what's going on. Inventory is going to rise eventually. It obviously is going to be relative to rates, because a lot of people don't want to sell their home with a low rate if they have to pay a significant amount higher anyway. What I want to show y'all is just some basic information. I know there's a lot of stuff on the screen. These are all of the things, and I'm going to use 3 different words: repairs, improvements, and upgrades, because all of those things are able to be used for a renovation loan. You can buy a perfectly fine house with a loan, regular traditional loan, that looks like it's stuck in a different decade. And I'm going to use the word upgrades or improvements. You can buy a home, and if you look kind of like in the middle a little bit in some of the bullet points, maybe the house can't get a traditional loan because the roof is messed up. The foundation has issues. There's mold in the property. So maybe something like that, I wouldn't use the word upgrade or improve. I would use the word repair. What I try not to use is the word fixer-upper, because fixer-upper to me has a negative connotation to it. Whereas if I'm an agent and I'm going to say to myself as a potential buyer, hey, I'm going to show you this house, Adam, that's a fixer-upper. Now it's the way that I interpret fixer-upper. And a lot of times it's negative. Or I would say, hey, Adam, I'm going to show you a home that could use some life breathed into it, or maybe a little bit of love. Well, that way, my interpretation of a little bit of love might be a backyard oasis, which I'll show you about. It might be a man cave. It might be a master bedroom oasis. It might be a hotel style bathroom. It might be a chef's kitchen. It's getting me to think. So as you can see on the screen, there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff you can do. Renovation loans are not just for the big bad wolf house that you can huff and puff and blow down. Now, let's kind of talk about how it benefits y'all real fast. I bet you, and I did 51 of these last year, and I'm going to do a lot more this year. I bet you have buyers right now in your database that have been looking for a home that can't find a property. I am going to show you ways that you could use a renovation loan to open up the pool of properties you can show. And not only open up the pool of properties you could show, but if you are listing the property, how you don't have to market it specifically to cash-only buyers. Now, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, because if I was an agent, I would want to cast the widest web that I could in terms of the amount of people that could potentially buy my home. Why would I want to limit it to cash-only buyers when I could open it up to a whole bunch of more people? Answers: needs TLC, as is condition, fixer-upper. Those are the key words that we all see in the description when the property is being listed. That's just screaming, use a renovation loan to repair, upgrade, or customize. These are all really cool words that are in the description that are get people to think and look past what they currently see. Some people can't do it, but a lot of people can if you help provide an opportunity for them to create a little bit of a vision. And if you're listing the property, you can win more listing using renovation financing solutions. And what I mean by that is, I'm walking into a home that clearly needs some love, or it's a mess, or it's a wreck. And I'm using those words. Something like that is not just all about, well, I'm going to cast a wide web. I'm going to walk in there and say, I'm sure your house has provided a lot of love over the years. We're really going to expand the reach, and I'm going to market this with a whole bunch of different loans I have with my Fairway branch. So someone doesn't have to pay cash, and we can really expand the pool of potential buyers that can buy this property here. That's how I'm going to win. And that's something you can use today. Instead of walking in, looking and seeing what a mess it is and just thinking, well, I got to market it for less because it's a wreck and it's cash only. And because of that, not only do you play an instrumental role in revitalizing the neighborhood, but the more these properties get new life breathed into them, a new love, and they bring the value up because my neighbor's home is worth more and stuff like that, it just goes ahead and helps you build yourself a brand as the agent who can help move these properties. And I will tell you, over the years, I love seeing the agents who have taken the before and the after picture and who have walked into a listing meeting and said, hey, look what I've done. And they've also done the same thing as a buyer's agent, going, hey, look what I've helped my buyers with. So it's just a really cool way to kind of brand yourself again, to just open up the door to everything. And leveraging the project when it's all done via the housewarming party, I will save that because that is awesome. So let me show you a couple different things as we go on here. And again, I said I was going to kind of talk fast. These are all marketing flyers that you can co-brand in terms of getting the word out there and creating the awareness. Because in a minute, I'm going to talk about the myths and misconceptions. And I love that because I love to hear these objections about things that just clearly are not true. And what we want to do is flip it 180 degrees. Listen to those objections, destroy the myth and misconceptions, and build confidence in not only you, but in terms of your borrower and the contractor too. So in addition to the marketing stuff, let's kind of talk about the buyer for a second. And I'm going to throw a lot of good stuff at you really fast, okay? So put yourself in the shoes of the buyer for a second. You don't need to worry about the current condition of the property because we're going to go ahead and repair, customize, upgrade, or improve it. Not really worried about it, what it looks like today. So because of that, a lot of those properties are really avoided by the general buying public, number one. And number two, they're avoided by agents because the properties either aren't marketed correctly or the agent uses those myths, misconceptions that I'll talk about to not show the property. Look at what's on the screen right now in number 3. There is no need for your buyer to walk away from a property because they think, well, it needs repairs, upgrades, improvements, and I don't have the cash on hand. We're going to go ahead and finance that so you do have the cash on hand. And then keep in mind that low down payment that they're going to bring in is a combination of what you're writing the offer for, plus that renovation budget. And I'll use the word alterations to describe that. So check out these options again. And a lot of folks I work with think at the beginning, well, these renovation loans are different, so throw everything out the window. Not at all. The credit is the credit. A first-time home buyer can use a conventional renovation loan and put down 3%. That's it, based on the combination of what they're buying it for and what those renovation costs are. An FHA loan only requires 3.5% down. How about zero down options, like a VA renovation loan, or a zero down option like a USDA renovation loan? Or how about the best kept secret, the HUD $100 down program, where you can put $100 down if you're buying a HUD REO. And of course, there's limitations for those, but these are all niches inside of a niche that you could really use to play the card when you need to. And of course, I'm putting myself in the shoes of the buyer, asking myself questions that I would probably ask if I was in that situation. So it's just one regular closing, no double closing, no dual, nothing. Very fair and fundamental question that I would ask if I was a buyer. Well, what happens to my rate? What happens to my payment during the reno, after the reno? Well, here's the cool thing. There's no surprises. When your interest rate is fixed and the loan closes, you are set for 30 years, 15 years, or 20 years, depending on the product that you have. You know what your payment is. You're making it from the start, and it will never change unless you sell or refi your home. And when I'm doing these in person, I kind of drop the mic there because a lot of folks are going to ask that question. Well, what's my payment during the reno and what is it afterward? So we want to be proactive and be able to tell them, here's what your payment is. And again, it will never change and stuff like that to build confidence. And one of the most important things is that these buyers don't have to settle. It really allows them to transform the property into their dream home. I'm going to show you some really cool pictures in just a minute, okay? What we don't want to do, everybody, and I see it happen a lot, we get calls, or at least I get calls and say, well, you know, my buyer purchased this house and they were using credit cards and they jacked them all up. And now we need to take cash out to finish the project and pay off their credit cards. And we can't pay off those credit cards with a renovation loan. We can give you the money to fix the project, but we can't give you the money to pay off the credit card. So let's go ahead and use the renovation loan as the primary vehicle to finance it. And then if they want to supplement it with credit cards down the line, that's the way to do it. So putting myself in your shoes, this is where it all starts, okay? And notice how I haven't talked about products at all or anything, because this is where you have to start. I am a buyer. And if I knew that I had X amount of money to spend on those upgrades, repairs, and improvements, would it change my perspective in putting an offer in on this property? If I'm pre-approved for, say, $400,000, and again, don't worry about the numbers, but just worry about what the concept is. So I'm pre-approved for $400,000 before I go house hunting. And you're showing me a house as an agent. Let's just say it's listed significantly less for $300,000. Do I understand that I have that difference, and in this case, $100,000 to spend on the renovation? As the buyer's agent, if I am looking at a property and I knew the way that those numbers work, would it change my perspective in showing it in the first place? Because a lot of times an agent will say, well, I'm not going to show Adam Levitt that property. I know he's got 3.5% down for down payment, but I know he doesn't have a whole lot of cash. So I'm going to punt and not show them that. Not at all. If you understand how the numbers work, then now you can open up those pool of properties. And as the listing agent, and you'll see this in a minute when I kind of talk about marketing a little bit, am I marketing the property with contractor estimates to help create a vision, which does not necessarily mean you have to use a renovation loan for it. So all this is done to really destroy these myths and misconceptions that I'm talking about. So kind of follow me here for a second. If you find the perfect house, it's got the school district where you want, the floor plan, the yard, I mean, everything, but it's a wreck. It's outdated. It's got significant issues. So as the buyer, I think, well, and my agent's not going to show me this property because it can't get financing. And then I think, well, I can't imagine fixing all of that. And it leads to this. Most buyers turning around and walking out the door, even if they get to the point where they look at the property and they just think, well, we couldn't possibly come up with the time and the money to do it. And without understanding how powerful the renovation loan is, the house goes unsold, the listing price ends up being reduced. And unfortunately, the seller is the one who takes it on the chin because they have to take a haircut on the proceeds. And not understanding in advance that the buyer is virtually pre-approved for renovation loan, as I talked about before, a $400,000 turnkey home is the same thing as a $300,000 purchase with $100,000 in renovation budget, or whatever way you want to slice and dice it, because the credit is the credit, the guidelines are the same, and the down payments are the same. That's what we're trying to teach our branches, to go ahead and get that message to y'all out there so that you really understand from the get-go how you can use a renovation loan to open up more properties you may not show. All right, this is one of the coolest parts. Check this out. Now, think about all the stuff I've been talking about. And now, how about changing the entire design of your kitchen? Look at the house with the kitchen on the left as compared to the right. Really cool stuff. How about creating your own open concept kitchen? Look at that linoleum floor on the left. That was the kitchen that I grew up in with that floor. Back then, not a whole lot of open concept stuff, right? Look what these people did to the home and the kitchen on the right. Really, really cool. Hey, I got little rugrats. I got to be able to see into the living room. Let's turn this into an open concept kitchen. How about outdated and open concept? I don't know what the words I'm going to use to describe it other than stale and just like office-ish, right? But look what these people did. It's all about having a vision. And then how about no kitchen, no problem? This is a huge myth and misconception, okay? So the people that sold the home on the left gutted it and we're going to redo the kitchen and then live there. They changed their mind. I forgot why. How do you sell a house that doesn't have a kitchen? Well, you can't get a traditional loan, but you can absolutely get a renovation loan. So keep that in the back of your mind that when you're walking in there, you don't need to market it as cash only. You can get a loan and all sorts of stuff like that. Now, there's one thing that's kind of a piece of the formula here that we're kind of missing that will help you in terms of selling the house and in terms of timing. And that's just kind of maybe using a contractor or some sort of cost. So renovation loans tell a story. So follow me here. So when I walk out of the office at Fairway and I understand what I'm pre-approved for, let's just say 400,000 again, and you show me that home that's listed for less, and let's just say it's even 350. When I walk in the door, I already know, okay, I'm pre-approved for 4. The home is listed for 350. I got $50,000 I can use walking in the door to spend on all the things that I can see with my eyes and ears that need to be fixed. But I wish I knew how much it cost. If you are marketing a house, and if you're the listing agent with a contractor's estimate, it's going to help continue to tell that story and move the borrower forward with getting closer to making an offer. Because at the end of the day, I know how much money I have to spend just based on the numbers work, but if I wish I knew how much it cost. So in this case, you can look at the column on the right, $30,000 plus. Hey, I know I got the money. Everything is looking good. It's making me confident. And now instead of thinking about all the crappy stuff I see that needs to be fixed, I'm thinking about all the cool stuff that I can do. Kind of makes sense to me a little bit. Now, we use this total cost analysis comparison, and I'm going to make it really simple, okay? There's 3 different columns in there for 3 different loans. The first one on the left that says FHA 203B is a regular FHA loan where someone's buying a home for $400,000 and they're putting down 3.5%. No renovation. The one in the middle is the same exact thing. They're doing a FHA 203K loan, putting down their 3.5%, but they're buying the house for $300,000 and financing $100,000 in cost. So the whole project again is the same, $400,000. And then the far column with a little green highlighted this conventional reno is a first-time home buyer putting 3.5% down, buying a house for 3, and then financing that $100,000. So again, every single scenario is a $400,000 purchase. And what we want to show the buyer is look how the numbers work. So I used to be a teacher, like I said, and a coach. Some people are visual, some people are auditory. I like to use this to show somebody, wow, okay, so I know everything Adam's saying is the same and the credit's the credit, but now that I see it on paper, it all makes sense. We can easily toss your name, the name of the property on the top there where you see it says Mary Mortgage, and customize it. How cool would that be? Renovation loans tell a story. We're trying to paint a picture. Still haven't even talked about the products, but let's talk a little bit more about the appraisals because this is one of the most important things that affects the timing, okay? So why is the contractor so vital to the timing? Well, this is why. The contractor is going to put together their scope of work or the renovation budget or the alterations, whatever you want to call it. And we are going to base how much money that the client can borrow based on what we call the future value or the subject to completion value or the after renovated value. It's like an Eskimo using all these different words for snow. They all mean the same thing. But if we don't have a contractor, then we don't have their bid or their scope of work. And if we don't have their scope of work, we can't order the appraisal because the appraiser is not going to be able to tell us what the value is because they have no idea what's going into the project. That is the domino that pushes everything over. So overall timing, and follow me here for a second and don't get up and leave. We always stress writing the offer with at least a 45-day closing. And I'll kind of explain why, because when you follow the advice I'm going to give you, and if you can use some of the things I've already been talking about, especially if you're marketing a property with estimates, and you'll see, can you imagine if you were marketing a property with a couple estimates from a contractor and the client was walking in there and they were using some of the same things that I've been talking about today, and they liked the property and they knew how the numbers work and they saw that bid and they said, hey, Adam, can I call ABC Construction here and see what they have to say? What do you think I'm going to say? Heck yeah. And what is it going to do? It's going to allow the contractor to get that bid prepared faster. It's going to get the appraisal ordered quicker. It's going to get the loan underwritten faster and get the loan closed sooner. And I'm going to talk about milestones in just a second, but here are just a couple snips. So, everyone thinks there's forms. That's contact information. Here's just one line that shows like plumbing and electric. And the one thing I want to stress on this right here, using our forms is important. It's not 100% needed, but can't tell you how many times where the bid comes in from a contractor and the math is wrong, just accidentally simple. And then we go back and forth for like a week or two because the contractor is out there swinging a hammer and a nail on a job. And they're like, oh God, I'm getting these emails. I don't know who these people are at Fairway. If you use our form, the numbers add up, not 99.9% of the time, 100% of the time. It's all about shaving time off the process and making things easier, right? Hey, if you use our form, it will make the process go faster. You have objections to it? Let's talk about it. And then here is just a summary. Okay, now, this is a question that I get a lot, and I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about timing. And what I mean a lot of time is just relative to this whole thing. So follow with me here. Before the client is going house hunting, Fairway has pre-approved them. Okay, just the simple same process. Here's what you're pre-approved for or pre-qualified for, and understand that that number could be a combination of what you buy the house for, and then the remaining money, like I said, the difference could be the amount that you spend on your renovation. So if you find a property for less, keep that in the back of your mind. And in that, start to think about a contractor. So I'm already kind of planting the seed that we need that contractor, right? Once the offer is accepted, this is the secret sauce. I call it the huddle. So I'm going to be 51 next month. And when I got in the business, I was a young guy, thought I knew everything. And they mentored me with a guy who happened to be my age now. And he was like, hey, you're coming from coaching and teaching, and I bet you know it all, because I kind of gave off that vibe. And he said, well, when you huddle up, you call the play, and there's different people who do different things. And I said, yeah, where are you going with this? And he said, well, the Fairway loan officer is the quarterback, and they're going to huddle up with everybody. And here's what we're going to do. Okay, so today is January 18th. We've got 45 days to go before we play ball. So we're going to play ball on, say, February 28th. Let's just say that's our day. In order to play ball on February 28th, these are the things that we need to do. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I need your bank statements and your pay stubs and, the same things that you gave me when we pre-approved you. Mr. and Mrs. Agent, you do the same exact thing that you normally do on any purchase. You want to do a pet inspection? Great. You want to do a home inspection? Great. Do the same thing. And now, Mr. and Mrs. Contractor, you're the key, because we need you and our mutual client, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, to figure out what your scope of work is, because we cannot order the appraisal until that's done. So I need that, and this is the key. I need that in 2 weeks, let's just say by February 2nd. Because if I don't have that, we are not going to be able to play ball by February 28th. 1, 2, 3, break. We all break the huddle. Everybody understands what they need, when they need it, and what happens if I don't get it. Remember when I was talking about that 45-day timing? Well, here come 14 days, and I don't have what I need. I huddle up again. Hey, everybody, just letting everyone know, I don't have what I need. And if we don't get it, we're not going to be able to close on time. And we still have plenty of time left on the clock. So why are we successful? When we set that milestone early, and when the properties are being marketed a little bit with these contractor estimates, we get what we need earlier. Everybody understands. And it's pretty simple because we don't run out of time. So you write that offer for 45 days, and then you're wondering why you close in 30 or 32. And our average time to close a loan was 32.8 days. I know it might sound a lot, but for a renovation loan, that's pretty good. Why does that happen? Because it's just simple, and we tell everybody what we need and when we need it. Closing on time early again, I'm just going to reiterate it. We can't order the appraisal until we have the bid or until we have a work write-up from the consultant, which I'll talk about in just a minute when I get to products. But it's really simple. When the appraisal comes back, all we're going to do is look at it compared to the bid. And if there's anything called out in the appraisal that needs to be done to the property that is not included in the bid, we will go back to the contractor and say, hey, the smoke detector is not there. The water heater needs to be strapped. There's some chipping and peeling paint that needs to be fixed. We didn't see it in your bid. It needs to be added. And that's it. Contractor adds it to the bid, and we're ready to rock and roll. And you can imagine in timing, if we have plenty of time to do that, it's great. But what happens a lot A lot of times we see rescue deals come in. No one tells the contractor or the buyer how important it is to get that scope of work. They get it in late and they don't have enough time to add everything in because they're running out of time. So the loan closes, the seller gets their proceeds right away. You get your commission right away, first off, on the amount of the sales contract. And then the contractor and borrower are on their journey of starting us taking care of them to be able to get the project finished. And I'll talk about the housewarming party in just a minute. So let's talk about writing an offer really quick, okay? So when you write the offer to buy the home, you're writing it between the buyer and the seller. The seller has nothing to do with the renovation budget because the loan closes before the shovel hits the dirt. The work starts afterward. So for lending purposes, when we write the purchase price, we're going to add the amount of the sales contract plus those alterations. Now, I use those words alterations not because I own a cleaner, but in that construction budget, there are a couple things in there that I want you to consider because this, again, is going to make you a little bit more dangerous, okay? So I got my hard cost from the contractor. Okay, that's that bid that I showed you. And then there may be soft cost in there, which might be things like plans and permits that are required, not because Fairway requires them, but because the city and the county, the municipality throughout the country are all just different. Okay, so all that makes up the scope of work. But look at that highlighted thing, the contingency. I called it emergency fund. How great is it to know that we are going to finance an additional 10 to 15% of just that contractor's cost into the project in case they go over their budget, in case there's cost overruns, or in case they open up a wall and surprise, there's something in there that they didn't know about. Surprises are great for anniversaries and birthday parties. They're not good for projects. So it's just nice to know that there's this emergency fund that's called the contingency that is there so they don't have to go digging into their pocket to use credit cards. And if they don't use it and they get to the end, or if there's any leftover money, the contractor knows what's in there. It's all very transparent. So they can either send it back to the loan and do a principal reduction, or the contractor can come in and go, hey, Adam, got a couple extra $1,000 here. What else can we do that you didn't think you could do at the beginning? Now, there's also some inspection fees, but let me show you one other cool thing here. Escrowing mortgage payments. So I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the buyer. I'm buying this home that's uninhabitable because of the repairs, improvements, upgrades that I need to make. I have to live somewhere. I'm paying rent, or maybe I'm making another mortgage payment, and Lord knows I cannot come out of pocket twice. So I'm going to punt. What if you didn't have to come out of pocket twice? Because on the subject property that's uninhabitable, that you're using a renovation loan to buy, you could finance up to 6 months of those payments into the loan, just like it's part of the project. Plumbing fixtures, paint, new cabinets, mortgage payments. It's in there, and that way the buyer does not have to come out of pocket twice. Again, a tool that you can play for somebody who is just like, I can't do it. And a lot of people are going to do that. I was in that situation when my wife and I built a house, and we did it, but we had to wait 2 years to figure it out. If we knew we had this option, man, it would have totally changed my mind right away, because that was the thing that inhibited us from doing it. Now, really quick, I'm going to get into some even better stuff. Look at the examples on the left and on the right. That's exactly a $300,000 purchase, or someone's financing $100,000 in those alterations, and you got a $400,000 purchase. I call it an adjusted purchase price. And if you look at the down payment on the left, that's 3.5% down. If you look at the down payment on the right, that's 3% down. And I'm going to focus on that one for a second. So this is how I would explain it if I was a Fairway loan officer. Adam, you're buying the house for $300,000. We're financing $100,000 of alterations in there. And then keep in mind, that's the contractor's cost for your project. And that's also those mortgage payments that we financed in there for those 3 months that the house is going to be uninhabitable. So it's almost like you're buying a house there, standing there for $400,000. Because you're a first-time home buyer, you only have to put down 3%, which is $12,000. And that gives us a loan amount of $388,000. So your payment is X, your interest rate is fixed. You don't have to worry about the payment changing. But the best part is you don't have to run around like a chicken with your head cut off trying to find out where you're going to get that money to finance the project, because it's already financed into the loan. Simply put. And then don't forget that you get paid when the loan closes, before the shovel hits the dirt, not when the project is completed. All right, so check out this. This is one of my favorite parts. How about creating your own backyard oasis with a conventional renovation loan? And don't forget about the outdoor kitchen too. So look at look at the house on the left and look at what they did on the right. Yeah, you can do this with a conventional renovation loan. And I know you can't see it, but if you look at the picture on the right, all the way in the back, that's where the outdoor kitchen is, of course, because you can't have a backyard oasis without an outdoor kitchen. And this is one of the awesome things. I should have done this first. How about building an accessory dwelling unit or a granny flat and either renting it out for income or using it for more space? Now, I dig this picture. I'm kind of like the modern contemporary guy, but man, this is one of the coolest ones that I have seen, okay? So you need more space. We don't really care what you're going to use it for. Maybe you're going to rent it out as a little investment property in your backyard. Maybe you're going to use it for multi-generational housing. Or maybe you just don't know, but you need more space. You can do this. And how about all the different products we offer? The whole reason for me showing you this is just to show that reno loans are not just 203K. Across the top, you'll see the products. You got the both 203K limited and standard. We have a VA renovation loan. We got the home style, and we got the Freddie Choice, which are both conventional options. And then on the left side of the screen, you'll kind of see some of the features. Great Cliff Note version. It makes you dangerous just to be able to have some solid information that we can get you going from the beginning. And then as we get kind of close to the end right here, just a couple more pictures. I'm kind of like a bathroom guy. I like when I go, and I travel a lot. Now, when I travel for work, I don't stay in bathrooms like the one on the right. That's more the hotel-ish bathroom. But man, who wouldn't love to end their day with a bathroom like that or start their day like that? And this is the same bathroom. And yes, you could do this. Holy cow. This would get me going. This is going to get the juices flowing right here, right? Check it out. Nothing crazy. All they did was just knock down that little wall there, open it up, and put in some brand new stuff. And holy moly, right? Now, I know you're thinking, right? God, I wish there was an estimate in there for the cost. Well, there it is. Same concept, right? I know what I can afford. I know what the house is listed for. I know what the difference is and what I can spend. I just wish there was an estimate from a There it is. Now the juices are flowing again because I know I can afford it. And I'm going to call the contractor and follow me with the timing and everything here, right? And here's just a couple other pictures here. Look what else we've seen. Just people just totally transforming properties. Just transforming properties. Now, this is what I look like when I don't get enough business or I'm traveling a lot. Just joking. So do it yourself, or what we call self-help, unfortunately, is not allowed. And it's not because we don't think that the buyer or the borrower can do it. It's because we want to make sure that they don't accidentally hurt themselves, like this guy. We want to make sure that they're able to not hurt themselves and continue working and making their mortgage payment. And we want them to hire a licensed professional. So that's the reason why. And again, when I'm doing this in person, it kind of brings everyone together. The last thing I'm going to show you before I just talk about draws really quickly is what we do a lot, which a lot of folks don't really know about. But I want you to think about this for a second. You're doing a regular, good old-fashioned traditional loan. You're not doing a renovation loan. The appraisal comes back and, like Zorro, slices and dices the property. All these property conditions are called out. You can't get a traditional loan. You can't do an escrow holdback. It's like a big red light. It's like traffic. It's like I'm on the 405 here in Los Angeles, right? I ain't moving. Well, we flip those, or we shift them from a regular traditional loan into renovation loans all day long, especially when the value comes in low. And how do we do that? Very simple. Look at the milestones, and I'm bringing this all full circle, right? It's kind of like the quarterback, right? Things aren't working. Everyone's yelling at each other in the huddle. The quarterback is like, shut up, everybody. Listen to me. Here's what we're going to do. And all we do is re-huddle up. Okay, the appraisal came back. Here are things that need to be fixed. We need to have a contractor get a bid. I mean, it's just, we have a process for that. And it's very, very simple. So I won't talk about it because I don't want to get in the weeds. But we see these and we have a process, and it helps. And it's very, very simple, a lot easier than you all think. So the last thing I will show you is draw disbursements. And I'm not going to go into it other than ending on this myth and misconception. So if I was a buyer or if I was a contractor, I would probably want to work with someone who wasn't using a loan. It's just simpler, right? It may be, but contractors need to be aware that you actually have upfront money on every product except for one. Okay. So misconceptions when I'm speaking to contractors. Well, you all want this and you're not going to give me any money. Well, actually, 80% of the time, 4 out of the 5 products, we do. Would that change your perspective as a contractor in bidding out a project because you knew you were going to get money about 48 hours after the loan closes before the shovel hit the dirt or hit the ground? So your perspective in showing properties, the buyer's perspective and looking at them, and then not forgetting about the contractor's perspective either. And then we've got this really cool loan administration guide that talks all about draws and change orders and contingencies and everything like that, that I will include in the email that when I send out to everybody. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here for a second. And I really appreciate the airtime and let me kind of, really show you all these really cool things. The most important part is the process. So takeaways: open up the amount of properties that you can show by offering renovation financing. Understanding how the numbers work from the very, very beginning about how much money that the buyer can spend because you know what the house is listed for and you know what they're approved for. And then just keeping in mind how important that contractor is to the equation in terms of being able to order the appraisal faster, and then just knowing all the really cool things that you can do that I showed on the other slide: cosmetic, minor stuff, big issues, ADUs, swimming pools, backyard oases, and things like that. So I'm going to take a deep breath for a second and kind of throw the ball back in your court. So any questions I can answer for anybody, or hopefully you're all still there.
Yep, everyone's still here.
Okay.
Any questions? And thank you for your time. You did that way more effectively and efficiently than Dottie and I would have been able to. You do that every day, day in, day out. So we appreciate your time.
Awesome.
And we can also answer any specific questions that you have on transactions that you have going on right now. But if there's any questions for Adam, otherwise I'll let him go to his next presentation. We're good to go. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
So do you want to see that on the contract as a purchase price, and then that is added into our loan amount, or